Hello, gamers from around the world. This is Boxenberger, the video game enthusiast from Germany, and I would like to welcome you to today's episode of The World of Gaming, your number one podcast where we discuss everything that the world of gaming has to offer, games, news, and technology, and we go through everything that the world of gaming has to offer, and we already have a couple of great people here in chat. Welcome to the show, but I also want to welcome my guest today, Jay Fonzarelli. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it. This is our first time together on a show, so it should be a lot of fun.
I'm certain of it. It's been way too long. We discussed it so many times that we need to make it happen. And I'm glad you found the time, and it's going to be a lot of fun. For those of you who don't know who Jay Fonzarelli is, he's the host of Games Talk Live, co-host of RDX, and The Honest Voice on Twitter. So if you are interested in
honest,
his... that's what I love about it.
No, I know. Sometimes it gets me into a lot of trouble, though, so... We'll see.
I know, but
I'll try to keep everything PG here today on the show because I know you like to run a nice, clean show. But if I do get a little bit out of line with some of my hot takes, please let me know.
No, I appreciate the honesty. Honestly, that's why I do listen to your show each and every Monday morning when I drive to work.
I appreciate you.
I usually have your show on, I love the honest takes, and that is much appreciated. So, if you are interested in Fonz's channel and social, I have all his links in the description of the show notes. So, as always, you can find everything there. And one last thing before we start with the actual show. You guys know that this show is also available not just on YouTube, but also on all the podcast services like Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and so on. And if you do listen audio only, first, also, thank you and welcome to the show. And it would be awesome of you to hit that 5-star rating if you like this show. It really helps these small podcasts out on these podcast services around the globe. All right. So in terms of topics, we have a packed show. Fonz, every time when the week starts, I start to think at Monday, Tuesday, okay, what will we be talking about on the World of Gaming on Thursday? And it was a slow start of the week, but then a lot of awesome things happened. So we will, of course, discuss this whole Sony subscription thing and a big interview with Jim Ryan and some of his quotes from that. We will, of course, talk about the breaking news that just broke like an hour ago, that Game Pass is getting a family plan. We will talk about Diablo 4. We will talk about an interesting Starfield interview with the lead designer. We will talk about Phil Spencer's anniversary. Did you know that he is head of Xbox as of today for 8 years?
Yeah. Sounds about right.
8 years. Sounds about right. We will talk about a lot more stuff. But of course, I always want to start a gaming podcast with a little bit talk about the games that we actually play. All right, here we go. This week, since the last week, or since the last World of Gaming, actually quite a few games came out. The big ones were definitely Ghostwire Tokyo, Kirby came out, and Tiny Tina's Wonderland has arrived. Fonz, what have you been playing? Any of these games or something else?
No. So before I started the biggest game of the year so far, Elden Ring.
Let me put up some gameplay here.
Yeah, I was actually playing. I was playing Horizon Forbidden West, and I was in the middle of that game, and I honestly wasn't feeling it too much. But the story anyway. The combat's still, great combat, but it's more the same of Horizon Zero Dawn. So I was playing that, and then Elden Ring came out, and I had to dive in. And once I did, I got captivated. I love it so much. It's such a great game. I finally beat it after 7 days, 44 hours.
Wow.
It took a long time for me to beat that game. In a short time, though. I mean, it was a real short time, but I spent so many long hours in that game, up in the middle of the night playing this game when my kids are asleep and, I can get away from the wife, So I was playing that for quite some time, but once I beat it, I said, I got to go back to Horizon and I got to try to beat it. And that's what I'm playing right now. And I'm having such a hard time getting through it because after playing Elden Ring's open world, I find Horizon Forbidden West open world kind of just like cookie cutter, like most of the other
too much
hand
holding.
Way too much hand holding. There's points in the game where there's little puzzles in this game, right? But every time you get into a situation where I walk into a room and there's puzzles, Aloy starts telling me how to do these puzzles right away. She's like, oh, maybe I should pull that, grapple that wall over there and pull that thing out. Or, oh, maybe I should push this button. Or maybe I should do that. And I'm like, let me figure the puzzles out myself, Aloy. But alas, she wants to tell you what to do. But I just find the whole open world thing, when you open it up, you see all the checklists and everything you have to do. It's a bit like tedious. Whereas in Elden Ring, when you're just opening the map up, you don't see all those things everywhere. So you don't have like a sense of, oh my gosh, I got to get this done. I got to get that done. Even though you're doing a lot and you're doing more than these other games, you don't ever feel that, like the overwhelming sense of, man, I've got to do a bunch of checklists. And I don't ever feel like that. So in the game.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. I finished Horizon before I started Elden Ring because I already thought that, getting out of such a open world game like Horizon and then getting back in after whatever amount of time I will need for Elden Ring, I knew I couldn't do it. So I finished that first. And I really liked it for what it was. It got a little repetitive, especially towards the end. The mission design, everything, but still, I enjoyed the story. There are a couple of cool twists at the end, and
how did you feel about all the dialogue? Because there's a lot of dialogue in this game.
Yeah.
I'm literally, I'll go into one little camp. I'll talk to one person I'm supposed to talk to. Then, and that situation happens for a good 10 minutes. Then it has me to talk to somebody else in the camp for another 10 minutes. Before I know it, I've got half an hour of dialogue before I get back into gameplay. And it's just too much. And I think that they tried to push it so much because they revamped their animations and stuff. And the NPCs look great. They're animated well. But what they have to tell me in a lot of instances is they're just repeating themselves, or they're telling me about their inner politics that I really don't care about. And I just want to play the game.
I know what you mean.
That's how I feel, anyway.
Yeah, it kind of reminded me to some degree to some of these JRPGs where you get like never-ending dialogues. I played Scarlet Nexus earlier this year in early February or so, and I really liked the gameplay in Scarlet Nexus, but there were like 30 minutes of cutscenes, and then you got like 5 minutes of gameplay, and then and so what I did in Horizon is actually I skipped the dialogue scenes in the side quests at some point.
Yeah, because
and only listened in the main main quests. And then what I usually do then is turn on the subtitles, because I can read much faster than I can listen, and then I can bam skip through it. But I agree there's a lot of dialogue there.
Yeah.
Still,
but I'm gonna push through, man. I'm gonna try to beat the game because I paid for it. I might as well try to beat it. But I'm not enjoying it as much as I did the first one.
Yeah,
because there was less dialogue in the first one.
The first one was a big surprise to me, to be honest. I didn't when I started the first one, I didn't expect to enjoy it. I mean, come on, what a stupid idea to have robot dinosaurs in a game, and but then I was
shooting them with arrows as well.
Shooting them with arrows, exactly. But the story was really good in the first one, and it really surprised me. And it was probably my favorite PlayStation exclusive of the last gen. I really enjoyed the first one, and the second one, it was still a good game, and I still think it was worth a playthrough. But of course, if you compare it to what Elden Ring is doing, and also honestly Dying Light 2, which I played right before I started Horizon. Dying Light 2 is also a fantastic game with a lot of verticality and a lot of surprises in the open world. And there's just a difference. It's a little bit too much hand-holding. No doubt.
Yeah.
No doubt. Yeah. All right. For me, I'm still making my way through Elden Ring. I have no idea how many hours I'm into the game. I would guess around 50 hours or so, maybe 60.
Well, if you go to quit the game inside the game, it'll tell you how many hours you have.
I can also look that up on the Game Pass app.
Oh, that's true too. Yeah,
so,
you can do that too.
But yeah, but the thing is, I just arrived at the snowy landscape where the giants are. Yeah.
You're in the end game for sure.
Yeah, and I get my ass kicked, so I decided to go back and loot some caves, discover a little bit more, and then I suddenly realized, there's this one big giant underworld that is under the map, and I realized suddenly there are multiple of these areas under the. Yeah, the game is massive. It's still sometimes it does things where I just think, okay, why do people think this is good game design? But then it's so addictive and rewarding at some point. But yeah, so I'm still in a love-hate relationship with it, but I can't stop playing it. That definitely tells you something.
Yeah, there's very little I dislike from Elden Ring, to be honest.
It's smaller things, like there are certain things that are just not convenient enough for me, like the missing pause button. When my kids walk into the room, I want to hit that pause button. It just annoys the hell out of me. Or when there is no real comparison button for your gear that you find.
That was one of them.
Yeah, I take screenshots with my phone, and then I start comparing them, and I just think these kind of things you shouldn't be able to do in a game. But yeah, it's these minor inconveniences, but overall the game is great, no doubt. All right, anything else you've been playing outside of Horizon Forbidden West? Or
no, just trying to get through that right now, and just waiting for the next set of games to come out, really. I might jump into Tunic afterwards, because that's in Game Pass. So I really loved Death's Door last year. And I hear it's kind of like that in a way. Not as charming, but it's a decent game from what I'm hearing from friends. So
yeah, I heard similar things, and I also want to play it, but I can't have two games that kick my butt at the same time. So I'm waiting until I finish Elden Ring. All right, fans. Then let's move. Before we move on to the news, I just want to read briefly the first super chat of the day that comes in from Drawn TJ. He says, "Hey, what's up, my friends? How are you doing, Fonz?"
Doing well, man. Thank you for asking, Drawn TJ. Appreciate you.
Yeah. Man, and Drawn TJ, while we're at it, I need to officially apologize again to you because we played last weekend Age of Empires 4 together. And
oh, nice.
And suddenly my wife called from upstairs, and my son started puking all over the bed and everything. Man. And so we had to cancel our gaming session. So
I've been there, man. I've been there.
Yeah.
I've had, 8 kids in my time, and
Yeah, so you know how it went, and then a few days later the other one got it, and so but now everyone is healthy again, and Drawn TJ, we definitely need to have our Age of Empires 4 match again. So all right, but with that we are moving on to the news of the week. All right. I think the big topic of the week is definitely the announcement of Sony's, well, shall we call it Game Pass competitor? I don't know. But it was, of course, their attempt to do it. Let's call it the PlayStation Plus subscription service. You have obviously also seen this on the news. Sony has announced new subscription, so with 3 tiers. And these 3 tiers. The first one is basically what we have today as PS Plus. The second one is basically what we have today as PS Now, and they just merge it together with the existing PS Plus. And the third one is the one where you get via streaming the backward compatibility games of some PS3 games and PS1 and 2 games and demos or trials, how they call it. But yeah, fonts. There have been a lot of discussions, of course, out there. And along with this announcement, we got a big interview with good old Jimbo, and he had a couple of things to say on this. But before we go through some of his statements, I just want to hear your general thoughts on the subscription service. You think this is worth the money? Is it actually competitive to Game Pass? What are your general thoughts on this?
Well, of course, it is going to be compared to Game Pass. Even Jim himself said back in 2020, November 2020 to be exact, in an article, he said, look, we have something to say in the coming months on our answer to Game Pass. And this is it. And so he said it himself back then that this was going to be a competitor. Yeah. But it's simply not. And I personally look at it, and it's not worth it for me at all. Like, I don't even have PS Plus. I haven't had PS Plus now for the last year or so. It's probably been a little longer. I stopped my PS Plus account because I didn't need it. The saddest part to me is the fact that they're still putting cloud saves behind a paywall.
Yeah.
I think that's a disservice to their fans and their gamers because, how many times did I hear stories of people that upgraded from the PS4 to the PS5, and if they didn't have PS Plus, they lost all their game saves.
Yeah. I was one of them. Actually, I knew about this. Yeah. So what did I do? Of course, I got PS Plus before I got rid of my PS4.
Oh, did you?
I did. What I didn't know is that I had to manually copy them to the cloud. So I just thought, okay, you have that thing online, and then of course everything.
Isn't that sad? Isn't that sad that you had to do that? Here's what happened to me. So I got my PlayStation 5, I hooked it up, and luckily I still had my PlayStation 4 Pro that I was using. I just had given it to my son. But I hooked up my PS5, downloaded games, and I said, "Where's my saves?" And I was on a party chat with Dealer and Colt at the time, and they were laughing at me, and because I was getting mad. I was really getting frustrated. I go, I don't understand this. And they said, I hate to break it to you, but you're going to have to get a flash drive and manually copy each save to a flash drive and then port it over to your PS5. So I started to do that. And while I'm doing it, I'm getting so mad and worked up, and they're just laughing and laughing. But it's just so archaic and stupid. It's counterintuitive. It doesn't make any sense. Like, give people those cloud saves for free. Like, Microsoft does. Agreed. And I hate to just compare it to Microsoft, but I mean, you have to. It's their competitor. They're giving their gamers cloud saves for free.
You just look at what do you get in on both ecosystems, and we have both, so it's easy for us to compare. And I always say I'm a customer of both. Actually, I'm a customer of all three. I also have the Nintendo Switch and the PC, so I'm a customer, and of course I want certain things that I get on the one side, on the other side. That's totally normal. And it really was annoying when I realized that I had lost my saves. Of course, I could have Googled it, but I checked. There was this in the settings. There was this automatically synced with cloud, and I put that on. But that only applies to new files, not the already existing ones. And I didn't know that, so that's why I lost them. And I had a colleague from work to whom I sold my PS4, so there was really no chance on recovering them.
And I only bring that up really because I thought that maybe, just maybe, they would make that free finally. When they announced this new system. But that wasn't there. And then, of course, when I look at the rest of what they're trying to give you for $18 a month or $120 a year, especially that premium, because that middle tier, honestly, who is that for? That's a tier that I don't think anybody's going to touch.
Yeah,
it doesn't make sense.
It's the couple of the handful of people who already had PS Now. It's the same value like today. It's probably even the same games like today.
Yeah.
And I think for us, you and I, we both have Game Pass, obviously, and probably a lot of the folks also here in chat do have Game Pass. And of course, when you have Game Pass, you probably don't see additional value in that particular subscription service. If you're a PlayStation-only customer, you're still getting 400 games out of this, yeah? So it really depends on how many of those games you actually own. It could still be a value for you. But of course, if you compare it to what you get on the one side and the other side, it's really not comparable.
But when I look at the premium, the only thing that I see that they're trying to give you are old games, and most of those, especially the PS3 games, are streaming, and they're giving you demos, trials. You should never have to pay for a game demo, in my opinion. I didn't like it with EA Play or whatever it was, EA Access. They were charging for demos, even though they were 10 hours, which is quite substantial. Yeah, don't expect Sony to give you 10 hours of their games.
I don't think so.
That's not happening.
And it's not I think they'll give you a level. It's just selected games, yeah. So that is another thing. On EA Access, you at least knew, okay, every game I can try out for 10 hours. And the full game for 10 hours, yeah.
Yep. I don't expect them to give you much beyond maybe a level, the first level, or maybe even just 20 minutes or half an hour. Like, you're not going to get much out of Sony. You're not.
Absolutely. Yeah. So, yeah, it is a weird thing to do, especially since you see what is happening in the industry, and that the industry kind of tries to move towards this subscription-based model thing. Yeah, other competitors in the space also do it. Even Nintendo does it to some degree. Yeah, and so there were a couple of statements from Jim Ryan along with this. I've seen, of course, also the discussion out there that the subscription service doesn't have day and date of their exclusives, and so I want to quote Jim on this day and date thing. He said in an interview with GameIndustry.biz, "We feel if we were to do that with the games that we make at PlayStation Studios, that virtuous cycle will be broken. The level of investment that we need to make in our studios would not be possible, and we think the knock-on effect on the quality of the games that we make would not be something that gamers want." So there's a lot to take in there. Basically, he's saying our games are too expensive and too good for subscription service, and we would reduce the quality or need to reduce the quality of the games when we bring it into a subscription service. What do you make of this, Fonz?
I think, he's a businessman, and, at the end of the day, they're going to be, let's be blunt, as greedy as they can be. And I think when they look at it, when you start a subscription service like Microsoft did with Game Pass, they probably started at a loss when it came to, these games being put straight into there, and they didn't have the numbers to really make up for those losses. But now you're looking at somewhere between 28 and 30 million with Game Pass right now, subscribers. You do the math, quick math. I mean, you're looking at probably close to $4 billion a year being made in Game Pass with just those subscriber numbers.
And it's reoccurring revenue and plannable revenue. Yeah. The difference is always what I say is when you develop a game and you only rely on classic retail, you have to make an investment, and a big investment for let's say 5 years. And then you suddenly make all that revenue within the first 3 months or so. More than 90% of the sales are usually done in the first 3 months of games.
Yeah.
So
because you will get less sales with their games. They won't sell as much if they put them into a service like this, because you will get people out there like myself with Game Pass. If it's in Game Pass, I'm not buying it. Okay, I'm just not. To me, I'm a consumer first, and I wish more gamers would think that way instead of speaking for these companies. I'm constantly seeing on both sides, they're always, repeating this corporate speak sometimes. Right now they're doing it with what Jim is saying. Oh, they can't afford to do that with their games. Yeah, sure. They won't sell as many copies. But again, the more momentum you gain within the service, the more subscribers, you're going to make that money back. If they had 25 million subs into PS Now Premium, you're looking at a game that may cost $200+ million to be made. That's going to be recouped within a month's time if you have that many subs. Sure, there's a lot of other games that's going to be put in this service, as well as multiplayer games, things like that, that's going to cost a lot of money. Yeah. But again, the more subscribers you get, that's when it will benefit you. And I think right now they're kind of tentative on this, and they're just taking it slow. But I think that for me, them revamping this whole PlayStation Plus and Premium is kind of too soon. For what they're offering, it doesn't make sense that they just did this revamp, because they're not offering enough. The value isn't there. It's just not. Without day and date, they're not going to get, most people to subscribe to the service. They would have got me. If they had day and date, I would have jumped on it day one, for sure. Even at $18 a month, I would have jumped on it.
Yeah. With day and date, obviously. The PlayStation is, for me, it's an exclusive machine. Yeah, I play my multiplats usually on Xbox, sometimes on PC. I use the PlayStation as this console for the exclusives. And you know about the game prices of Sony. Here in Europe, they are 80 euros. That's round about 90 US dollars. So we have to pay 90 US dollars for a PlayStation game, and obviously I would have loved for a subscription service to save me some money there. The thing is, you're absolutely right with one thing, and that is that there is really nothing new in there. The first two tiers are basically already existing, just under a different name. So it's really nothing new. And my general thought was, where's the transparency? If you announce such a service, why don't you put out the list of games that are coming and tell a little bit, what is your plan? How long do these games stay in the service? How often can we expect new games to come to the service? Or will the first party games come into the service after, let's say, a year or 6 months or whatever? Be transparent. The only quote we got from Sony was Ryan saying this. He said, every major publisher will support PlayStation's newly announced PlayStation Plus games library, and conversations continue to go well. So you can make of this whatever you want, but we really don't know which kind of games are coming.
Yeah, and that's why, I try to tell people that, you should come with a mindset of, what can these companies do for you? Don't think about their bottom line. Don't think about, how much money they're going to be losing or making. That should be none of your concern. You should always be very consumer minded as a gamer and not even think about that stuff. That's why that kind of rhetoric that we hear sometimes on Twitter, some of these fanboys, some crazy stuff can be said. I can't understand that mindset. Yeah, I truly can't, because when I think of, when I look at game sales and stuff like that, I'm always thinking about my own wallet. I'm never thinking about, that company's making this and that. And you could easily look that up. I mean, the financials are out there. You see what these big corporations are making. You see that Sony is, making billions of dollars a year, and it's not based off their single player games.
For the last 7 years, last 7 years, Sony has reported each successive quarter, a record-breaking quarter. So for 7 years continuously, their business grew. And I'm 100% with you when I see these comments like, oh, the developers work so hard, they need to get paid properly and so on. You
Yeah.
know who also works very hard for their money? We do.
We
All of
do.
us.
We do.
All of us here in the community, we also need to work for our money, and that's what we should think of
Come
first.
on. We are deeply affected by inflation as well. Think about our own wallets,
100%.
people. Like, this is crazy. And, to your point about that, people always saying some crazy stuff. Like, I think that at the end of the day, like, just worry about yourself. Don't worry about these companies. They're fine. They're making that money, billions. And I was going to say that it's not those single player games. They do make money off of them, of course. But that's not the bulk of their earnings. The bulk of their earnings comes from things like microtransactions, DLCs, season passes, things like that that's being sold on their platform, even from third-party developers. Absolutely. They are making a killing off those microtransactions on their platforms. Things like Fortnite, that is where they're getting the bulk of their money, both Sony and Microsoft.
And
so those have
25% of the revenue goes to the platform holder, typically, roundabout. Yeah.
And those have been the mitigating factors in them not increasing the price of games over the last decade or so because of the age of digital gaming, microtransactions and all that. That is why we haven't got $70, $80 games, because they didn't need to push it to that point. Sony, for some reason, decided to be a bit greedy, along with Activision and who else? There was some Take-Two, pushed that price to $70. That's on them. And now, unfortunately, we're going to see the rest of the industry follow suit. And it's sad because it didn't need to go there. Yeah. And the
industry
sucks.
was fine the way with the old pricing. Yeah, agreed. Man, I just want to remind everyone here in chat, I put up a poll. I want to hear your thoughts from the community. Do you guys think the PS Plus subscription is a good value? There's a poll. I would love to hear your thoughts. And I also want to read one of the super chats that came in from Dave Ramos. He sends in $10. Thank you so much for the support. And he says, I'm a huge fan of Xbox Game Pass and love that service, but we can also appreciate Sony's sub-strategy being different. We get to see how both strategies unfold as the two companies compete and change. Love the competition.
I'd like to ask him, what competition, number one, because there is none between the two services, and what strategy exactly is Sony or doing there? Because I don't see much of a strategy that's a winning one at all, or one that even competes. It makes no sense to me, because to me, and I'm sure you're going to read a little bit of what Jim Ryan had said. Yeah, he says some things that tell me that this is going to change eventually. And I think it'll be changing eventually sooner rather than later. And it'll be much more in line with what Game Pass is doing. So,
definitely. The thing is, I would love competition. Absolutely. I'm 100% here with Dave. But I also think that this isn't really competition. And honestly, the way it is set up now, I do have the feeling that even Sony isn't really 100% behind it. And here's why. I want to read another quote from Jim Ryan. He says on the subscription and subscription services in gaming in general, the following. He said, we anticipate for our service that we will see further growth for the subscriber numbers, but the medium of gaming is so very different to music and to linear entertainment that I don't think we'll see it go to the levels that we see with Spotify and Netflix. So that's Jim Ryan right there saying, okay, he doesn't expect the same that happened in the music industry and the TV entertainment movie industry to happen with gaming. So what do you think? Are they really behind the subscription model?
I think, when you look at it, I would be in agreement with the fact that it seems it's everything else. Other mediums have completely abandoned physical, the physical nature of their platforms. Who really owns or buys CDs nowadays for music? Nobody. Nobody's doing that. Everybody's got these apps for that. A lot of people They didn't totally abandon it, but there's a lot of people out there that don't even buy Blu-rays anymore. They just stream their movies. You still have a lot of people hanging on to that in gaming. You still have a lot of people that will buy physical games. And I think that's more in line what he's talking about, is that he doesn't feel like it's going to go to that. But I disagree. I really think that since we've been in this age of digital gaming, it's grown exponentially. We're seeing year after year more and more gamers go straight digital. He's wrong in thinking that services like this won't get to that point someday. Because I see it happening. With Game Pass alone, like what they're doing with Game Pass, if they were to match this subscription service, they themselves would get so many more customers jumping on that service, and they'd see it. I don't know what he's talking about.
Why wouldn't it? It saves subscription services in general. Doesn't matter whether it's music, TV, or games. Saves the customer money, and outside of the fanboys who doesn't like to save that money. So yeah, I'm with you. I also think that this is a model for the future, and we've seen that Game Pass with 25 million subscribers is at the forefront. By the way, there was an interesting statistic there released this week from the Ampere Analysis Group. They have investigated the market share of subscription services, and it accounts to around about 4% of gaming revenue globally. Yeah. That might sound not that much, but consider that the vast majority of the gaming revenue is done on things like mobile and free-to-play games on PC. So, and in that subscription piece of revenue, 60% of that market share belongs to Game Pass, and 40%, the rest of 40% are divided under all the other subscription services that are out there.
What does that tell you? What does that tell you? What a great value Game Pass is, right?
Yeah, right, absolutely. Let me just briefly catch up on some of the super chats. Or before we touch on the next super chat, I want to give Dave Ramos the chance to also answer his. He wrote in chat. It says, as long as PS Plus is different than Xbox Game Pass, then so too are the approaches different, e.g. no day and date.
Yeah, but here's the thing, Dave, and I appreciate you, man. But that doesn't mean competition. That to me, with no day and date, there is just, it's a fail to me. It's nothing that's really going to really entice. They have nothing to entice people to really jump onto that service unless you're really, really adamant and wanting to play PS3 games through streaming.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you. I don't think they necessarily have to have day and date to have real value there. You could provide other value there with it, but the way how they presented it right now, I don't see it either.
You know how they could have done it? They could have added some of their video streaming apps along in that price, Crunchyroll and other things.
Exactly. You can add some of your entertainment business to this to differentiate yourself. Yeah. Sony.
Yeah.
Add the Sony movies to it, or add some other value.
Perfect.
Yeah. There is it. Then you would have something to differentiate yourself. But right now it's 400 games, whatever, from PS4 and PS5, from the PS4 and 5 era. So yeah, the general idea is similar to what we have right now on Game Pass, just with less value, in my opinion. But let me catch up on some of the super chats now. Drawn TJ sends in $5. He says, PlayStation idea of a subscription is a joke. It's not worth $10 a month. Yeah, like I said, value is different for everyone. And if you're not subscribed to Game Pass and are a PlayStation only owner, you could still get some value out of this because it's 400 games, no doubt. Depends on really what the games are and if you own them or not. But one thing is, I think we agree here is it's not the same value. And then we have Gamers Watch sending in £2, and they say, breaking news, E3 has been cancelled. Really? Breaking? Is that? a thing? I haven't checked Twitter or any news sites in parallel to the show.
I know they said that they canceled. In the past, they said they canceled physical show, like being there, but digitally, like they canceled that. That's weird.
Yeah. So it's okay. If it's breaking news, stuff
We
happens during
believe
this
you.
show. Stuff happens during this show. And before we use that, what happened right before this show as a segue into the next topic, I want to see and read the poll that I put up in chat. And the community here probably agrees with our thoughts here at the fonts, and that is I asked, do you guys think the PS Plus subscription is a good value? Only 4% said absolutely. 17% said it's too expensive. 31% said maybe with day and date. And 46% said not at all. So, yeah, I think there are only few people really happy with what has been announced. And it all comes down at the end to what you personally can take out of this subscription as a value. And Xbox just announced, or well, it wasn't Xbox. There was just breaking news right before the show that Game Pass is actually getting even more value. I want to shout out here Jess Corden from Windows Central. He was on this show a few weeks ago, and he just broke the news. I have the article also linked in the description in case you want to read the full thing. And he broke the news that a family plan is coming to Game Pass. And with that, of course, we are getting even more value. Let me read some of the highlights of his article. He said, according to a trusted source familiar with Microsoft efforts, we can now confirm that Xbox is moving ahead with an Xbox Game Pass family plan, which should be set to launch sometime this year. From our information, paying on a higher tier for an Xbox Game Pass family plan will net access for 5 players for games across the entire library and will be far cheaper than paying for 5 separate Xbox Game Pass accounts, as is necessary today. Utilizing Microsoft's family account system already in use for Office 365, players within the same country will be able to play together using a single X-Pass Game Pass subscription managed by a central account holder in much the same way as Netflix. So, Fons, you have a lot of kids. That is something that should probably make you happy. The family plan.
Well, lately, what I've been doing is just game sharing with my son, and of course, you can share Game Pass as well. But I could see this being a huge benefit to a lot of people out there. This is what a lot of the community has been asking for quite some time, and that's one thing about. I will say, you know, and not to sound like a fanboy, but Xbox seems to be listening to the community a lot this generation. And it seems like they're paying attention to what we've been asking for. I mean, when they've tried to do things that have been malicious in nature, like up the price of gold, we banded together, said no, don't do that, and they didn't do it. And now here we're asking for a feature that this family share, and they're going to do it. And it's just really nice to see that. And the transparency has been awesome on their side too. So that's that's the type of stuff as a consumer that I have to praise. It's not fanboyism. It's just being a consumer that likes transparency and likes it when a company truly listens. So I like that.
Yeah, me too. I agree there. That is what I think is really special about Microsoft right now. They kind of, I mean, even if you look at social media, how many executives are out there? So many Microsoft executives and even the not so higher ups are active on Twitter, on Reset Era, on different on Reddit, everywhere. We had John from Xbox Era on here a few weeks ago, and Phil Spencer is part of their forum, and he actually comments there. Yeah, so What other gaming company does this? And the family plan is something that many fans have asked for a long time, and it only makes sense if you want to become the Netflix of gaming, which is their obvious target. You kind of have to have a family plan.
Yeah.
And it's great to see that they have heard the feedback. Jess, I highly recommend that article on Windows Central. He also talked a little bit about why it took them so long, because it isn't easy to do it from a legal standpoint. Yeah, with all the publishing rights and license fees and stuff. But apparently they are moving along now with that plan. What do you think will be the higher tier that includes a family plan? At which price level will they settle that in? What do you think?
I you know, I don't know. I don't know what they would do here. I can't see it being more than a few dollars, maybe $3 more or something
Yeah.
that we're paying now.
Yeah, maybe
Like not
5, that
much.
20, something like that, in
Maybe
total.
that would be the
Yeah.
highest I could see,
Yeah.
$20.
Yeah. I also think it can't be like 25 or 30 or
No,
something.
no, no,
Even if you get
no.
5 accounts with it, it wouldn't seem right.
Yeah,
So yeah,
20
I
sounds
think,
about right. I think you're on the money.
yeah, yeah. So somewhere in that ballpark. So yeah, that is apparently coming later this year. No specific date has been given. Um, Chess I answered that on Twitter. He has no idea about it other than later this year. So yeah, this holiday season, hopefully we will be able to play Starfield and such games in a family plan. Good stuff here.
Yeah,
Let me
that's great.
briefly catch up on one of the super chats. Tronty J sends in another $10. Thank you so much for the generosity, brother. He says, I want them to increase the amount of people can game share at the same time. Change it to people, from two people, is probably what he
Change it
meant
to
to
two
say.
people, yeah.
Yeah.
I, d- I don't agree with that only because man, you could really get over on the system. And I mean, even as it currently stands, and I've actually spoken with Phil on this personally
Okay.
about the way you game share and stuff, because and this was years ago. I spoke to him about it, and it was funny because I brought it up saying, how can you let people game share when they're like across the country or in another country and they're game
Yeah.
sharing and they're sharing these games? And he's like laughing and he goes, well, you're not really supposed to do it that way. It was really supposed to be
Yeah,
like
but
an
everyone
in-house
is doing
thing
it. Yeah.
at the same place. But they allow it. They just let it go. They don't, bat an eye
Yeah.
at it. And it was just a funny conversation, but I don't see them
Mhm.
ever upping that because basically you're able to play the games from whoever you're game sharing with. Like, you're
Mhm.
taking advantage there. So
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
add a second person, I don't think they would.
Yeah, I think so too. I think it would be hard to remove it. When they introduced it, basically the idea was more or less okay. Also for like kind of like a family share plan, the
Mm-hmm.
idea was like, yeah, if you have multiple devices in a house, you can log on with the same account at the same time.
Yep.
But I don't think that game sharing was in their mind. But to remove it now would be hard. It would
No, he
really,
he actually told me the reason why they just let it continue the way it is
yeah.
because it has promoted people to actually purchase more. Um, he
Okay.
says that what ended up happening is they're seeing these same people that game share spend more on games because one will buy one game, when it drops, then the other one they're game sharing with would buy a game, and they'd go back and forth buying each other's games. That way they're not spending all at one place. But he said with them doing that, they just seen the rise of these same gamers spending more money.
Mm.
So
Ah,
it
yeah.
benefits them. And it's kind of the same effect with Game Pass that they talk about, how Game Pass has promoted more growth and more people spending. And
Mm.
it's weird to think of it that way, but it's what's happening. And I don't have any reason not to believe him.
Yeah. Yeah. sounds reasonable, actually. John TJ adds up and he says, just what if they charged us $3 a month? Yeah.
Just $3 a month. Yeah, that'd be great.
Man, for $3 a month.
Oh no, I
look
think
at
he's
my
talking
library.
about an extra guy game sharing or an extra game share
extra
for
guy
$3
for
more.
$3.
I don't think they'll do it. I really don't.
I think then it would be the official announcement. Okay, like, hey guys, please do it. And I'm not sure if they wanted to do it, but
I mean, trust me, and I'm not saying I wouldn't want that because I game share with my son, and he's, he doesn't have money to spend, so I'm the only one buying games. So I would love to have another partner there who buys games as well.
Yeah, you see, the guy I'm game sharing with, he buys significantly less games than I do, but I get to use his Netflix account for that. But
that's great. Yeah.
Yeah.
Netflix is expensive now, so that's good. Yeah.
Exactly. Okay, and then we have Kirby Louise.
What's up, Kirby?
Sending in $5 hint. He says game sharing is fine. I'd rather see them implement the new 4-way local multiplayer feature of AMD linked to xCloud.
I haven't heard of this.
It is basically you can have a 4-player local kind of like co-op thing. But it's powered by the cloud, and that would be absolutely awesome.
Okay, so cloud gaming with 4-player multiplayer.
Yes.
Interesting.
And that would be absolutely awesome. There are so many things they could implement here. But man, I want to move on to another big topic, at least for me, because I'm a big Diablo fan. I don't know about you.
I love Diablo too. Yeah, I played the crap out of Diablo 3.
Yeah.
But on the PlayStation 4 back in the day, because I was more of a PlayStation kind of centric gamer before the Xbox One X. So
yeah, when Diablo 3 came out, actually, it was a 360 game, if you remember.
Yep.
My PC at the time it couldn't handle, so I bought it on 360.
That's
loved
funny.
it. Bought it again on the Xbox One then, and spent hundreds of hours playing that game. I love it. And Diablo 4 just got the other day a big news update. I don't know if you have seen it.
No, I haven't.
Highly recommend to check out a little trailer. It's about 3 minutes long, where they introduce different biomes and environments and some of the lighting technologies that they are using in the game. The game looks stunning. Absolutely fantastic. It is. I love the art style where they are going now. It's more realistic. It's not like this comic-y touch that we had in Diablo 3. It's more darker and more gritty, back to what we had in Diablo 2, but of course on a complete different level. And
I'm looking it up now, actually, while you're talking, because I want to see it.
And I want to quote something from their blog post that they put up. And they talked about all these different locations and stuff. And so they said, in order to create so much high quality content that we need, we found very clever ways to reuse our tile set and add enough variety to cover more than 150 dungeons. So that's quite a number that there is in there. And they continue to explain. All while providing fresh experiences each time. The aim is for believability, not realism. The atmosphere is almost tangible in places, with weather and lighting playing a more prominent visual role in Diablo 4. And if you are looking it up right now, you can really see that they have different lighting, weather effects, and they really try to put out different moods in that game.
It's still got the same feel as Diablo 4, but it looks a little more realistic.
Yeah.
And I'm liking that change. Man, I want to play this game so bad now.
Yeah. What do you think when it will come out?
I don't know. They've been working on it for quite some time, man.
Yes, they have.
Gosh, Man, I could see them making some sort of an announcement for, a release date, possibly even, the end of this year, giving that release date. So maybe 2023?
Yeah, it would be my
Holiday
guess as well.
2023?
Yeah. The game has been really a long time in development, and at the end of 21, they said that it won't come out in 22.
Yeah.
So no chance of a surprise drop this year. Um,
It
yeah,
looks
I
good.
have been speculating, but this is really just a speculation from my side. That along with when the Activision Blizzard deal goes through, they could announce a release date for that and or Overwatch 2, because that would really kind of be a highlight for that new acquisition outside of Call of Duty to have now. Okay, here we go. Diablo 4 is out in October 23 or something,
And
or
here's the
holiday
best part
23.
too. Out in Game Pass. That would be,
Yes, exactly.
yeah.
Day
Woo,
one. Day one
man.
in Game Pass. Man, when we talk about Diablo 2, I kind of have to put up some gameplay from the Diablo 2 remake that we got last year. I also enjoyed that
Yeah.
quite a bit. So
Diablo 4 looks so much better.
yes, it
Man.
does. Yes, it does. But I only have like a 2-minute trailer here to show, and that's not something we can let run during the show. So let's have a look here at some Diablo 2 footage. And yeah, I want to read a brief super chat from Tronte J. He sends in another 20 generous dollars. He says, I got two things to ask you guys. First, do you think they will ever allow full Bluetooth on the console so we can use any headphones? And second, also, do you think they bring back a Bluetooth earpiece for chat like they had on the 360? Man, I want to answer the first question. Real quick, I highly doubt it because peripherals and the licensing for peripherals is a significant amount of revenue that Microsoft does with peripherals, meaning headsets and licensing for headsets and controllers and stuff like that. They made if I can remember correctly, around about 18% of their annual revenue last year. So I don't think that they just removed that. To
Yeah,
be honest,
they don't want you to just use anything that
yeah,
they can't make money on. Let's
yeah,
just be real.
exactly, yeah, agree there. And the second question was, do you think they could bring back a Bluetooth earpiece for chat like they had for 360?
They could, but will they? I doubt it.
Yeah,
Because nowadays, like, most people are into these types of headphones, and hearing, spatial audio or 3D audio or, Atmos, things like that. And they want to provide that as well as the game chat. So I doubt you'll see something like that again. We've moved forward in technology so
I
much, even with sound. So
yeah, I kind of I hope you are wrong. Let me put it this way, because I would
yeah,
buy that thing. I love my surround system. I like my headphones, no doubt, but it's just something different. To have a proper
the
surround system, you're
problem
not
with
that
that
cut off.
but the problem with that, because I've been there before, because I have a really nice home theater and everything,
Yeah.
and games sound great through it. But when I'm in a party chat, I constantly get people saying, "Can you turn it down?"
Mm.
Because they can
Yeah, I
hear
know
all of
what you
that.
mean. I know what you
So
mean. Yeah, that's
yeah,
always the thing. For me, sometimes it is just, when I have the headphones on, I can't hear what the kids are doing upstairs and stuff like that. And I really like the sound of my system, so I would still probably buy one, and if it's well done, it would be really cool. Um, Another super chat comes in from Che.
Nerd Digital.
My good friend from the Netherlands. Shout out to you, brother. He says breaking E3 will not hold a physical or digital show in
Wow.
2022. So it really is breaking news. What do
Well,
you think? Is
here's
this
the thing.
surprising?
We've already heard from some companies that were getting ready to prep a show. Maybe
Yeah.
not necessarily for E3, of course not now, but companies like Microsoft, Ubisoft, was another one who was prepping a whole bunch of games. There was like 20 games they were already prepping for a show. Maybe it's their own thing they're going to do. I'm sure that a lot of companies are going to do their own thing. We're probably still going to get a Keighley summer games.
Yeah, that was confirmed. That
Game
will
Fest.
happen.
Yeah.
You're absolutely right. Probably a lot of things will move under that umbrella. But the thing really is, if you have these digital-only events, none of these companies really need E3, and they don't need to pay a lot of money to them just to be under this E3 umbrella.
And that's what's scary and sad, because this could mean the demise of E3 altogether. If they totally, they don't have one this year, then who's to say they have anything next year? And then I don't think that they can sustain at all. Man,
I think
it's not a good
year
thing.
Is the year that will show if E3 is gone for good. If they don't return to an in-person event next year, I honestly don't see them. And that's the sad thing. I love E3 week, and I've said it multiple times. It's not just, I've never been there, and I probably I don't know, flying in from Germany is an expensive undertaking to do that. We have Gamescom, which, by the way, happens in persona this year.
Yeah, I live through friends that go there, though. You know what I'm saying? Like, I see what they're doing, and they show me videos, and they tell me what a great time it is. And one day I would have liked to go there, but it saddens me to think that it could be gone.
Yeah, me too, because I also think it is an important event for the industry as a whole, because it is this 1 week where gaming really gets focus also from the general public, like regular news sites that usually report on politics and stuff. Yeah, they report on gaming during that week. Gaming just gets a lot more attention through this focused event that is E3, and that being gone, I don't know if that's a good thing. I really don't. But yeah, maybe the Jeff Keighley umbrella just picks that ball up now, and they will still make that. But it is.
I still have to, but I still have issues with that, because it's not E3. It's not where he's not opening the doors to people to come and hang out, focus on games and stuff. It's more of a TV thing, or a digital event.
Yes, it is exactly. It is not this
it's a lot of
person event. Yeah,
and from what we've seen of the last big Keighley show, it was a lot of ads.
Yeah,
a lot of ads.
A lot of ads. Yeah, true.
I mean, you got to support it somehow, right? You got to make money somehow. I get it, but at the end of the day, I'd rather watch and or go to an E3 show than watch Keighley's show and all those ads. So.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. It's not the same, but yeah, we shall see. I get why gaming companies pull out of this if there isn't an in-person event, because the digital events they can do on their own. Yeah, interesting things happening here in the industry. Man, I just need to catch up again on some super chats, because the generosity is amazing. The first comes in from Thanos. He says, "I have nothing to say, but just showing support, and I can't thank you enough. Really, really appreciate it." Dronty J sends in another $5 super chat and says, "Because they had one, it was a wireless one earpiece. It was awesome." Yeah, I remember that thing.
Yeah, I remember it too.
And it was cool, and to have it. He's talking about the Bluetooth ear thing. And Dronty J says, if you look it up, it was Xbox branded. Yeah, it would be cool to have can be branded, can be from third party. It would be cool. I would buy one. Dave Ramos sends in $5 and says, "How does E3 being cancelled influence the growing fan request for Xbox to begin doing periodic Xbox Directs?" That is a fantastic question. What do you think? with that big E3 event gone, and Xbox really focusing right now still on this one big showcase each year.
Oh yeah, they definitely need to keep that going around the same time as E3, regardless if E3's there or not, because that time of year is special to for a lot of people, casuals as well, because they tuned into E3 at that time of the year.
Yeah.
So they'll at least know about that Xbox showcase, at that time of the year. But the thing where it's kind of different is you're not going to see a lot of casuals because they just don't follow up on the news and stuff as much as we do. You're not going to see them, migrate to, all these shows every year, all year long. Like they're not going to know about that, oh, okay, there's another show, in August, and then there's another show in November or December. They're not going to follow that type of stuff. Like that's why E3 was really special, is because that time of year is when all the gamers got together, both casual and hardcore, and they watched the E3 show or went to it. So,
yeah, I
but I'd like more shows. I'd like more shows. I definitely would like more shows.
I think we all do, right?
I like game shows. Yeah.
Yeah, I think with when I look at the Xbox portfolio and what they have to offer in the next couple of years, there's so much stuff coming that I think they could still do both. And what do I mean? I of course I agree with you. This one big event has this is so attractive to general media, to the casuals, to so many more people than just having a 20-minute direct format. On the other hand, the fans, if you look at the Nintendo Direct, fans start to speculate days before that what is going to happen. There's really a hype around Nintendo after the announcement of such a Nintendo Direct event. So, and that is also an important piece of marketing right now, because social media is one of the most important, if not the most important, marketing channels out there. So this could really help, and it also would help us hardcore gamers to understand a little bit better what the games are. So I would love for them to have this 90-minute big showcase in the summer, but then have like 3 or 4 direct format styles to give better insight in the gameplay mechanics. Like if you think about Starfield, and we will talk about Starfield in a second because there was an awesome interview with the lead designer this week. If you think about Starfield and you announce and introduce that game at E3, how much time can you spend on Starfield then? 5 minutes, maximum 10 minutes, because then you kind of have to move on to the next one. And is that enough to properly introduce a game like Starfield, a completely new IP? You need to introduce the story, the lore, the gameplay mechanics, the ambition, and so on. And 10 minutes is really not enough. So do these trailer shows, big trailer show during the summer, and then have Nintendo Direct format styles for dedicated games, and give us 15 minutes, 20 minutes of gameplay. Let some of the developers talk over this gameplay and explain a little bit what is happening, what are their thoughts. Like, kind of, I really like the style of the Hogwarts State of Play event that we had a few weeks ago. Yeah, you got to see gameplay, you got to an idea of what the gameplay mechanics are and so on. And I think Xbox has enough stuff coming that they could do that.
And especially, having all of ZeniMax, having all of Activision Blizzard soon, they can do shows on their own. Those two studios can do things on their own.
Bethesda had their own E3 show each year. So,
and I think that'll continue. I think this year you're going to get a Microsoft showcase, and then you're going to get a Bethesda showcase. And I think that's where they're going to deep dive. I think they're going to deep dive Starfield around that time. So we're going to get, possibly like a 15 to 20 minutes real good deep dive on Starfield.
I think it's they won't do two separate shows because they want to show that Bethesda belongs to Xbox now. What I think they will do again is this second show that we had last year that Paris Lily moderated. And probably that is when we see then extended gameplay of Starfield, and they will just have a.
That's what I'm saying. I'm not saying like they're going to be separate, but they're going to do their own thing. They're going to let Bethesda take over, and say, okay, now they can do their showcase on Starfield, and I think we're going to see that deep dive.
Yeah, probably. All right.
And it's going to be glorious. I can't wait to see that deep dive.
We talk about Starfield in 1 second. I just need to read 2 more super chats, and then we all caught up. John TJ again with the outstanding generosity. He says, I would love to go to E3. I've never gone. I was going to go this year. It's sad. Yeah. In-person events are just something else. And Chunk Mail sends in 15 euros. He says, great show. Keep up the good work. Thank you so much for the generosity. Really, really appreciate it. Yeah, man. Now, Starfield, you said it. It's going to be good. I'm super hyped for it. Everyone knows it. I'm a big fan of the Bethesda RPGs.
Same here.
And this week we got a interview with Emil Pagliarulo. I hope I didn't butcher his name too much.
Yeah, you probably did, but I would have done the same.
Did. I want to say apologies. He's the lead designer of Starfield. And he talked about that Starfield is going to cover much new ground. And of course, there were these phrases in there like, it will blow people's mind and stuff. I want to read a quote from this very lengthy interview, which was also focused around his career and about the games he worked on before. He was like 19 years at Bethesda. So a lot of the games prior to Starfield he was a part of. So he said, it's been so awe-inspiring watching Starfield morph into this amazing game little by little, and with us covering so much new ground. There comes a point when you're working on a game and it's just kind of a mess, especially early on, because newsflash, that's what game development is. But then you get to that point where systems really start to come online and things start to work well. And you see everything forming into the vision you had when you first started on this crazy journey. When that first happened with Starfield, it really was an, oh, wow, yeah, this is something really, really special. Players are going to lose their minds. Now we just have to finish it. Yeah. We have heard many, many different news bits. We have seen a lot of concept art from different planets. Different factions will be in the game. Fonts, what are your expectations for Starfield?
I'm expecting a very, very special game. Look, the amount of passion that just oozes out of all these developers there at Bethesda when they talk about Starfield, it's very evident. They are pouring a lot into this game. You can tell this is, even when you see Todd Howard speak on it, it's different than when he spoke about, let's say, Fallout 76. That was kind of like he was just going through the motions when he was up on stage talking about that game. But this game, he really, really shows that passion, and everything that they're saying has got me so excited for the game. It's got my hype levels up, and I know that a lot of times these developers and these publishers will say things about their games just to try to push that hype level. And, they'll say things that never even come to fruition at times. I mean, look at Cyberpunk 2077. I love that game, but it didn't really meet expectation on certain things that they were promising. It wasn't the graphical showcase. It wasn't an amazing, it didn't have amazing gameplay mechanics like they were pushing or saying. But the difference here again is I kind of know what to expect from Bethesda. I've been a Bethesda fan since Morrowind on the OG Xbox. I like all the Elder Scrolls, the Fallouts, except for 76. I avoided that because it's multiplayer anyway, and I just don't care for it. But there's single player games I've loved. Each and every one of them, even Fallout 4. It's regarded as being one of the worst Fallouts. I loved it. I spent 259 hours into that game.
Wow.
Loved it.
Didn't play that much, but still a good piece of it. I think I played like 90, if I remember correctly. Yeah.
And that's because they added things like the building mechanics where you can build your own bases and stuff. And I hope, man, that they have something like that in Starfield, where you can build like some, bases on planets or something.
The rumor is out there that this will be included there. Totally optional, but it will be in there.
Yeah, because they are saying that they're going back to bringing more character stats back into the games. Because, they even admitted like games like Skyrim, which is huge and was a fantastic game. When it came to character stats and character building, it lacked. Let's be honest. It wasn't really robust in that area. But here they are really touting that it's going to be robust with character building. That is really enticing to me because I love character building in a game. It's one of the things I love about RPGs. I'm excited, man. I think this thing is going to be special. I think people out there that are, naysaying it or just, saying, well, it's Bethesda or Bugthesda. I think they're not ready. They're not ready for what's about to be shown. And I can't wait.
Yeah, me too. I also want to hear from the community. I put a poll in chat. Where's your hype level for Starfield? Through the roof, need to see gameplay first, or not feeling it? I would love to hear your thoughts.
Can we talk about that, about the need to see gameplay thing?
Sure.
Because look, I of course would like, I get more hype when I see gameplay in a game, like watching Diablo 4 earlier, the gameplay, that looked awesome. That got my hype levels up even more. Same thing would happen to Starfield. If I saw the gameplay and it looked incredible, it would get me hyped even more. However, do I need to see gameplay to get hyped for a game? Especially when it comes to knowing the company that's putting that game out, loving their games previously, all their work. Like, no, I don't need to see gameplay to get hype for a new RPG, especially a brand new IP coming from Bethesda, and they're touting this as being Skyrim in space. Who doesn't like that? Who can't get hype over that?
Couldn't agree more.
As a Bethesda fan.
Yeah. And it's not that we don't know anything about it. They have been putting out development diaries and blog posts, and we have at least to some degree, a good idea about the ambition of the game. We know that there will be different factions that you can join. Depending on the faction you join, you will start on different planets. There's corporations. There are is this Western sci-fi planet. There's all these things we already know about those. The only thing we haven't seen is real in-game footage. We have seen the art style that they are going with the release trailer that they call a NASA punk.
Which is a realistic looking art style. And that's great. Glad they're doing that.
They talked about why they chose that. They said when they started the development of the game, they discussed it. When you create a new sci-fi IP, you have to think about these things. Where's the tech level? What is religion in that universe? And all these things, they thought about this. And this is just, this is a more realistic kind of approach to what could happen in 400 years when we settle and discover space. And that's awesome.
And they mentioned that they wanted it to be more realistic looking because they wanted that immersion there. They wanted you to keep that immersion. And they mentioned stuff about the NPCs and the animations and stuff that they're really pushing the Creation Engine 2.0.
Yes.
This is going to be special. I'm so excited, man. Like, this is going to be like, that's my Christmas right there, is Starfield this year. So.
Oh yeah, so many hours are going to be spent in that game. And I will ask you one thing about the Creation Engine and your thoughts, but let me just briefly give you my hype meter here.
Go
because
ahead.
Todd Howard said something in an interview about 3 months ago or so. He said that Starfield will have 2 step out moments, and he elaborated on that. You have in the Bethesda games always this step out moment after a certain tutorial. You come into the open world for the first time. If you remember Skyrim, you had that
what
intro
about
sequence.
Oblivion? out of the
Yes,
tunnels.
Oblivion, out of the tunnels, exactly.
Yeah.
All these Bethesda games have that step out moment. Fallout 4, that when you step out from the vault, open world. There you go. And Starfield will have 2, and I can't get that thought out of my head. What are the 2? So my thoughts here are is just burned into my mind, and is the first is you step out from your ship or whatever it will be into the open world of that first planet that you start on.
Yes.
And that's your first step out moment. And then the second step out moment comes when you enter space and you go out in space in your ship and discover all the other planets. And then I thought, okay, whether we will have space fights or not, I'd love to see them do it.
Yeah, it's enticing because they talk about being a space pirate as well.
Yeah,
so,
exactly. But then I can discover all these other planets in that game, and then obviously they talked about complete redesign of their conversation system, and then I thought, okay, listen, if they can nail this Mass Effect feeling from Story Point with great conversations, and merge that with the awesome open worlds that we know from Bethesda games like Skyrim and Fallout. This combined, how can you not get excited for it? It's just, and you said the one thing about the creation engine. They talked about this, and I have written it down here in my notes. What to ask Fonts about Starfield. See, they talked about, okay, this is basically a complete revamp. They changed the rendering pipeline completely, the procedural generation, everything. And they also said that they had the vision for Starfield for many years, but the technology wasn't there to fully realize that vision. Now, we know that this is one of the first true current gen only games, and I wanted to ask you, what do you think will be some mechanics that were simply not possible on the older hardware that we will see in Starfield?
Oh man, I just think the amount of, I think we're going to see a much bigger, I won't even say world, but universe. I think we're going to see something on such a large scale where, you know how they, what was that game? No Man's Sky?
Yeah.
Where you were able to go from planet to planet. I think we're going to get some of that. But it's going to be much more detailed worlds. I think space itself is just going to look so freaking cool in this game.
Yeah.
And I think that is probably one of the things you're going to see here is it's just going to be on such a more epic scale.
Yeah, that's what Drawn TJ also thinks. He sends in $5 and says Starfield sounds like a No Man's Sky meets Destiny meets Skyrim is, and he asks, of course, is this game third or person or third person? That's also a good question.
It's probably going to be both, like they do in their games.
I would assume so too. Yeah, me too. And probably the way to play it is first person. That's just their thing. Yeah. What I think that they can do with this new engine and all the new technology are basically two things. The first is, of course, it being a more seamless experience. Yeah, not having those long load times. When you remember Skyrim, you enter a house and then you gotta just wait 30 seconds. And I think we get a complete seamless game here. You go out in space, enter a new planet without load screens, all this seamless. Of course, there will be more detail, and I do hope that they take advantage of the new CPUs, not just in terms of frame rates, but also in terms of physics and simulation and interaction. I hope that when you go through that foresty planet and you have that and you hit that tree that you can actually see the leaves react properly, or particle effects and stuff like that. Simply better physics animations and interaction with the environment, because that's what Bethesda games are known for. Yeah, you can basically touch everything, but I want to see proper simulations of the stuff I touch and so on. That would be really, really cool.
You know, that's you bring up a great point when it comes to physics and animation, because I think that is the next evolutionary step for video games. We're already seeing great animations and stuff. I mean, just look at the difference between even Horizon Zero Dawn and Horizon Forbidden West when it came to NPC animation. It's night and day. I think that is the next evolutionary step, because we're already getting that photorealistic graphics in some of these games. I think that is the next step, because there's so many games out there that look really good, but the animations aren't very good. And
I agree. I agree.
I like that.
And there's so much in these new consoles that could help those physics, animations, and just in general better simulation of things. It's not just the CPUs. I always say I hope to see that machine learning is leveraged for that kind of stuff. So yeah.
Yes, you know, you have somebody in the chat that says they want real-time space travel. So he wants to travel for 10 light years as he's playing the game. No.
Yeah, well, you don't know about the tech level and where they are, if they have some sort of hyperdrives.
No, exactly. But I just thought that was funny.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Dave Ramos sends in $2 and says the second step out moment is in-ship entering space for the first time. Yeah, I do think so.
I think this game is going to put other games on notice when it comes to, you know, how space itself looks, how the stars and everything look. Like, I think it's going to look incredible. Every time I talk about this with anyone, I get so excited. I get more hype, and we haven't even seen gameplay yet, but I can't help it.
Exactly. And I think the chat agrees here with us. The hype level, I asked, where is your hype level for Starfield? And 58% say through the roof, 35% say I need to see gameplay first, and only 6% say I'm feeling it. I'm not feeling it. So yeah, I think there's already enough out there to get hyped. I most certainly am, and that's why we need to move on, because otherwise we fill the entire show with talk about Starfield. Just the last super chat on that topic from John TJ. He says base building and maybe ship battles and buying ships ?
Yep. I think we'll get the buying ships for sure.
Absolutely. I think so too. I'm not 100% sure if that was in a apparent leak on a forum or whether that was already confirmed, but there will definitely be different types of companies that sell you ships, for cargo, for battle, for stuff like that. Not sure where the source was, but that is something I remember. So yeah. All right. Listen, we are already 1.5 hours into the show, and I have so many more topics we could talk about, so I need to only pick one or two before we get to answer some community questions and then get out of here. Phil Spencer has today, March 31st, his 8-year anniversary as head of Xbox. On Twitter, someone I follow, Emanuela Zacone, shout out to her. She's awesome person to follow, an Xbox ambassador. Congratulated Phil, and he answered and says, it's crazy that it's been 8 years. It's been an amazing journey with the teams, community, and game creators. Tons of learning for me, literally every day. Definitely the most rewarding years of my career, and really excited for what's ahead. Thanks everyone for the support. Phil Spencer had incredible 8 years as head of Xbox. What do you think were his biggest achievements in his 8 years as head of Xbox?
The biggest turnaround for me, for him, it was the turnaround for Xbox. The way he took Xbox from being the laughing stock of the gaming industry, in terms of the media's perception and, you know, all the jokes and everything that were made about Xbox over the years, and turning that around and making Xbox a formidable, you know, juggernaut in this space. He took them from having so many problems back in the day underneath what was his name? I can't even remember. Don Matrick. That's
Don
what it
Matrick,
was.
yeah.
Yeah. There were so many fails underneath Don Matrick. And Don Matrick had some success, some great success. Don't get me wrong. It wasn't all fails with him. But towards the end of his career with Xbox, it got pretty bad. And when Phil Spencer took over, man, it was like night and day what he wanted to do. And I will also say the biggest thing, and we touched on this earlier, is transparency.
Yeah.
He had Xbox become more transparent with their gamers and their fans. And I appreciate that the most.
That's a very, very good point. I also think one of his biggest achievements is probably turning the morale in the team around, because after imagine spending years of your work and your passion to launch a console, and then through some poor decisions that you weren't probably even aware of, suddenly that ship tanked like it did with the launch of the Xbox One. To turn that morale around in the team is really, really hard. And like you said, through things like transparency, and not just with us fans, but also with his internal staff and his team members and every employee on Team Xbox, he turned that ship around. Of course, there are other things that we've seen under him. We have seen back compat introduced. We have seen Game Pass emerged, enhanced consoles, and so on. But I agree with you that that what he did with the brand, the transparency, and simply having a vision for where to go next with gaming, and not just with the Xbox brand, but with the entire industry, is something remarkable. Absolutely.
Oh, yeah. I mean, when he took over, I think it was 2014.
8 years is 2014 exactly.
Yes.
Yeah.
2014 he took over. So between 2014 and 2017, because I know we started RDX in 2017, and we were discussing it even back then. Like, we didn't know what Phil Spencer was thinking. Like, he was making all these choices and having this idea and putting Game Pass out there, and we were like questioning even Game Pass back then. Like, what is this? Like, this company's just, doing all kinds of bad things, and like, it's not even getting better here. Like, that's I in 2017 I was thinking Xbox was going to be a complete failure even at that time. But what he ended up doing with Game Pass and changing my mind about Game Pass, and just, getting even more transparent after that, I saw what they were doing. I finally saw the vision, and I'm like, okay, I totally get this. It works, and this is the best thing that could have happened to them. Yeah. And Phil is that guy that should have been there, day one of Xbox One, heading it,
Yeah.
It could have changed some things. It could have changed some things had he been there earlier in that role.
True. He also had this amazing achievement to really get the company, Microsoft, the mother company, behind the Xbox division. Only because of that, they got the funding to acquire all these studios to make that risky move with Game Pass. And it's never been done before.
Because one thing, if you ever get the chance to talk with Phil and you pick his brain, the guy, you see, if you see him on Xbox, you always see him playing games. He is a true gamer. Yeah. And that is what differentiates Phil from Don Matrick, from other people that have headed the company before. This guy games, and this guy goes way back to, early games. And we had a long discussion about our favorite games and stuff from the past. And it was really fun, but that's him. He's just like us in the fact that he's a gamer. And that's why he has a certain mentality that other executives can benefit from that just can't, because they can't relate in the same way to us. And I
agree. All right, man. It's we could talk about a couple of other topics as well. We got some updates on the Activision Blizzard sexual harassment lawsuit. There have been news about Rare's Everwild, about Twitter clip sharing on Xbox, and a couple of other things. But we also got some awesome community questions in, and so I want to move over to those because there are a few things, very interesting questions and topics we can also talk about. So let's move to the community questions. All right, so the community questions is the part where you can write in on Twitter, on YouTube, usually on Wednesdays, your questions. So even if you can't make it live to this show, you still have the chance to ask us questions. And the first of the day comes in from Jonathan Smith. He says, hey, with the announcement of Kim Swift, lead of the cloud gaming studio, do you envision cloud computing to be a norm for AAA gaming within the next console cycle? Anyone remember Crackdown's 3 Vision? Yeah, I don't know if you've seen this. They have founded this new this new division, led by Kim Swift, who was part of Google Stadia for a long time, about the cloud gaming studios. Speculation was out there. He's working with Kojima and so on. What do you think? Will cloud computing become a norm for AAA games this
I don't think
generation?
Yeah, I think I think that's years away. But I do think that it's inevitable that it will be a mainstay in AAA gaming. I think that you will have that option, continue to have that option, because it's going to get better and better. I mean, technology moves fast, you know that, and I think that they're going to get the latency down and all that in the future, and that because that's really what's hindering these cloud gaming right now is latency. And it's already gotten better. If you look at where xCloud started and where it is today, there's a big difference, man.
Absolutely,
there's
absolutely.
A big difference.
Do you play xCloud a lot?
I don't play it a lot, but I've dabbled in it at work. So I've tried it, and when I play at home on my Wi-Fi, though, I barely notice that latency. It's really hard to discern. It's there. Don't get me wrong. But it's so much better than it was initially. Initially, even on my Wi-Fi, it wasn't very good.
Yeah. So I actually play quite a bit xCloud. I have like a controller with that clip on my nightstand, and whenever my wife watches one of her series in bed, I just play there on my phone. And you're absolutely right. Over the last year, I have really noticed a significant improvement. I don't know whether it has to do with that they changed a lot of the server blades already to the Xbox Series blades, or I don't know what it was, but there is a significant improvement. Of course, if I played Doom Eternal the other day on 120 frames per second. Yeah, you don't get the same responsiveness on xCloud. No, you don't. But for a lot of games, that really doesn't take away too much of the thing, because the latency is reduced significantly. And
but I think that'll improve in time, just like with every other piece of tech we've had.
Absolutely.
That's going to improve.
Will it ever be the same? Of course.
Like 1-to-1.
You're limited by the speed of light. So
I think it's going to be dependent on our infrastructure, really, where you're at. Because honestly, that's your pings and everything really have a lot to do with this. And I think until those get better, we can't really get the same performance with wireless gaming or cloud gaming. So,
but you still can enjoy your games very much so on xCloud, and even if I'm in the mobile on 5G or something,
it's decent.
It's decent, and I. For instance, I played Octopath Traveler. It's a turn-based game on touch controls for like 50 hours only on 5G. It's very much playable and a great technology and option to have, no doubt.
Yes, no doubt.
All right, the next community question comes in from Kirby Louise. I think you're familiar with him.
Yes.
He's been on RDX multiple times, a developer also, and he asks us a very interesting question. Your thoughts on Minecraft DXR coming to console? Do you think they will add support for Fidelity FX Super Resolution 2.0 with the full release? So I don't know if everyone has seen it this week. There was this rumor from Tom Borrens out there that Minecraft is finally getting that ray tracing update that it already has on PC. That this will also come to consoles soon. And with GDC happening last week, by the way, shameless plug, if you want to see all the news about Fidelity FX Super Resolution, I have 2 videos up on my channel about that. And it is definitely a chance to get this frame rate hit that you usually take when you get or implement ray tracing. You can definitely minimize that impact with FSR 2.0. So what are your thoughts? Will we finally get that ray tracing in Minecraft, and will we see FSR 2.0 support?
Well, I have to preface this by saying that I'm not really a Minecraft fan, but I've seen, the demos, and also I'm not the biggest fan of ray tracing in how it's been presented in most games on console. Because ray tracing is there's forms of ray tracing on PC that look really, really fantastic, but on console we seem to get shorted in that department. And I don't know if it's because they're just not utilizing the power of these boxes, because they're much more capable than what they're utilizing now. I mean, I constantly hear it all the time from Dealer and other people in the tech community that talk about these tools that that the Xbox Series X specifically have, even the Series S, that they're not even utilizing. So whenever I hear about things like, oh, this is getting ray tracing, and it's coming to the box, I don't get excited, because most games they'll put in like ray trace shadows, which honestly don't do much for me, unless it's really having to do with the lighting. Which it does look like the Minecraft thing will. As for them utilizing everything that's on PC with this Minecraft game, I don't think that's all coming, just because they're not utilizing the power of this box, and I don't understand why they're not doing it, but they're just not. So I don't get it.
I agree with you with how ray tracing is usually used on consoles, not being the best way for how you could use ray tracing, because shadows is really the last thing I want to spend my resources on when I use ray tracing. Reflections even probably a little bit more, but I think that the biggest benefit from ray tracing comes when you look at ambient lights, like light bouncing off of walls and setting up the mood in the room. This is just something that is really hard to do with baked-in lighting, and that is a benefit that is definitely there with ray tracing. And I don't know, and especially when you have dynamic light sources, like something moving and then light bouncing off a wall and getting setting up the atmosphere in your scene or room or whatever. That's where the strength of ray tracing comes in. I mean, we're still relatively early in the console cycle, and we know that a lot of the drivers weren't ready. We know that a lot of the DirectX 12 Ultimate features were not fully available in the GDK. But we also have seen some great examples, like Metro Exodus, for instance.
Metro Exodus, I was going to bring that up, is the best example of ray tracing on console currently.
It's not that it's not available there. And I also do wonder when and why we don't see, or why we don't see more from developers, and when they are actually gonna use this more. I'm still also not a big Minecraft guy, but I do have to admit ray tracing in Minecraft definitely changes the look entirely of the game. And so I do hope for all the Minecraft fans that this will actually come. And FSR 2.0, yeah, man, I do hope that it's not just coming to Minecraft, because this is something I'm personally really excited, because I always say 4K, native 4K resolution rendering is a waste of resources. I want to see those smart upscaling technologies like FSR implemented way more in my games, especially on consoles. We have so many options on PC. Obviously, there's very prominently DLSS from NVIDIA. Then, of course, we have Intel's XeSS solution and AMD's FSR. There are so many great options on PC, and FSR was available for developers for more than a year now, and I can only think of 2 console games that are actually using it on console. And I do hope that this will change now with FSR 2.0. It is now implemented in the development kit of Xbox, which the first iteration wasn't. And so I do hope
I don't know what it entails for these developers to use FSR 2.0, but man, would it benefit them greatly if they do. I mean, because the enhancements that we saw, the demo that I saw was amazing. It was like, it looked like 4K, you know?
Yeah, I mean, there you can always stop your footage, zoom in, and then you will see this little artifact. But I dare say that. Yeah, I dare say that 99.9% of the gamers wouldn't notice the difference. Yeah. And then we could use these resources for better frame rates, better lighting, particle, and physics effects, like we just talked earlier. Yeah, absolutely. All right. And Fons, do you have another 5 minutes for one or two other?
Yes, let's do it. Yeah.
All right. Because we have another good question coming in from WorthFit. He says, and guys, think this was before the Family Pass was announced. He wrote that question in yesterday. So he asks, hey guys, if Game Pass was to have an additional tier above Ultimate, what would you like to see in it and for how much?
Family Plan, $20. There you go.
There you go.
We talked about it earlier, so that's what it would be.
Yeah. There's really not much outside of more games that I could think of for a higher tier, to be honest, and outside the Family Pass, because that was actually my thought when I read that question yesterday. So it is tough to think about something else outside of more games coming to the service day one.
If they offered maybe like, but see, then you start kind of splitting it up like PlayStation's doing with their games, and I kind of don't like that. Like, I think that the service should have all the games, that it shouldn't be split. Like, if they were to add, say, more multi-plat games into a higher tier service day and date, but then that wouldn't be fair. Like, I don't know. I don't like that idea. Yeah. I think Family Plan is the best thing.
Family Plan is definitely the best thing. Yeah, I agree. All right. Another question comes in from Bavari90. He says, hey guys, my question is, could we see Microsoft taking the opportunity of, and I think he was referring to the PlayStation announcement, taking the opportunity and remove Xbox Live Gold altogether?
Well, my good friend, Jeff Grubb, who I've had on my show before, that I've talked to, he's told me behind the scenes, because he's been saying it for a long time now, that they will be getting rid of Xbox Live Gold. That he's very adamant that he did see things about this plan. It is happening. He just doesn't know when. None of us really know when, but apparently he's still adamant on this. It will happen. And I've heard this from other people in the community as well that do talk to some of the higher ups there at Microsoft, and they tell me the same thing, that this is within the plan. Most likely, and this is just an assumption, I think they're waiting to get more subscriptions in Game Pass before they do that. So once they hit a certain threshold, whatever it may be, 35 million, 40 million, then they'll get rid of the gold. And that would be amazing because we shouldn't really be paying just to play games online.
Yeah, especially with Xbox having that unified ecosystem where they say Xbox isn't just a console anymore. It's also PC. It's also your Android or iOS device or your smart lawnmower or whatever. It's this entire ecosystem. And the only device where you have to pay for online gaming is the console. On PC, you can play online for free. Yeah. So it definitely would make sense when you think about growing that ecosystem. But then, of course, there are certain economics attached to this, and we really don't know about the current subscriber number. The last one I can remember was around the time when they announced Game Pass, and then we were close to 50 million active Live Gold subscribers. So I would assume that at least the 25 current Game Pass subscribers are not subscribed to Gold anymore, maybe even a little less. So that would make it around 15 to 20 million subscribers. That's just my gut guess. No, I have no real hard data on that. But if you are in that ballpark, you don't get rid of that subscription or that service because it just brings you a lot of money. But I agree with you. If these numbers shift over to more Game Pass subscribers, it's
inevitable if that does happen.
Yeah, exactly,
and it will happen. I think Game Pass, they're on the course now to, I mean, they're going to hit 30 million by the end of this year for sure. I mean, that's going to happen.
Come on, I think with Starfield in there.
Yeah, that's really going to put them over the top. And once, I mean, 2023 is around the corner, and we're going to be getting more games out of Bethesda, soon out of Activision and Blizzard. These games, when they start to roll into Game Pass, you're going to see the casual market really adopt Game Pass quick.
I agree. 23 is going to be crazy with game releases, and now the only thing they need to get in line is a proper marketing campaign for Game Pass. Because I'm not 100% sure how it is in the US, but there's zero advertisement for it here in Europe. So yeah, but I agree. This will definitely bring in a lot of numbers, and it's gonna grow. It's gonna grow.
Yeah.
All right, Franz. Let me thank you very much for taking your time, and I would just need to read the last super chat for the show coming again in from Dave Ramos.
It's fitting.
Says, thank you, Box and Franz. Slow clap, great show. Thank you. Dave.
Thank you, Dave.
Thank everyone in chat here today. It's been an awesome show. Great discussions here in chat. My chat is always so well behaved. I really appreciate that. You guys have amazing discussions in here, but nobody is insulting anyone, and that is really what I love about this community. So big thanks to everyone who tuned in. Fonts, let everyone know where they can find you, what you have coming up, what you're working on. Tell people about your podcast.
Yeah, you can find me at Fonzarelli Gaming. You could even just type in FONZ Gaming and you'll end up finding me. There's another Fonz Gaming out there, but he doesn't put much content up. But anyways, you'll see my little logo, my little Fonzarelli Gaming logo. You can find me easily that way here on YouTube. And I do my show every Sunday, 2 p.m. Pacific time, 5 p.m. East Coast time. And it's just a one-on-one show. Usually it's one-on-one. Sometimes I do one-on-two, but it's usually one-on-ones, and we just discuss gaming. So kind of what we do, what Boxenberger does here. And we just have a good time the same way. I love doing the show. I try to make videos when I can. Videos, as you know, they take a lot of time. The editing is really a lot, and sometimes when I am at work, right now I'm out of work because I am just recovering from surgery. But when I am at work, there's some weeks I'll work up to 84 hours. And working like that, it's there's no time for, videos. And so one of my subscribers told me, well, why don't you just do like a podcast or something and just give us your breakdowns of the news of the week and stuff. And I thought, yeah, that'll work, so that's why I started my show, Games Talk Live. And I've just been rolling with that. You could also find it on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, everywhere you can stream a podcast. That's been a lot of fun, though. Just being able to talk to different people. I'm going to have you on as well, by the way. It's going to be a lot of fun. But yeah, so find me there, Fonzarelli Gaming. And I want to thank everybody in the chat, man. You guys are truly awesome.
Yes, the chat is awesome, as is your show. Fonz, I really love it because it is one of the very rare podcasts that don't that really have a fantastic pacing. I really appreciate that. It is a convenient format of the show. It's a fantastic pacing, always great guests.
Thank you.
Can easily get in, out, and it is a really good podcast you have going there. And again, I have all the links to Fonz's Twitter, YouTube, etc. in the description of this show. But I also want to say again a big thank you, not just to you, Fonz, but to the community. It's always a pleasure here, and we're gonna be back here next week with a surprise guest. And I can't officially announce that yet because I haven't gotten the full confirmation, but it's exciting, and I can't wait to get back here next week. But again, thanks everyone who tuned in. It was a really fun show, and you guys never forget to game on.